Go ahead, punk. Make me play.
This is Bumping Into That Sound.
Welcome to Bumping Into That Sound, the rock-centric music and tone podcast where we dive deep into riffs, rhythms and stories behind your favourite artists, tracks and instruments. My name is Francis and I'm your host. Whether you're a classic rock enthusiast or just discovering the magic of it for the first time, we've got you covered. Each episode will explore the story behind the sounds, the people and the equipment. For those that don't know, Bumping Into That Sound is part of the Bumping Into family of podcasts. The idea is that it's long-form conversations across a wide range of topics. So if you're into more than just music, head over to bumpinginto.com.au or search Bumping Into on your podcast player and discover the range of podcasts from health to history and a swag of interesting people and insights. There's also a few of the original series of the music-based shows on that channel that might not have made it across to this one yet. Now, for this episode of the show, I'm joined by Thomas Welladsen of Voltage MI, the story behind one of the most sought-after, vintage-inspired and highest quality cables on the world market. The Voltage Cable Co. is based in Sydney, Australia, where everything is handmade and offered with a lifelong warranty that follows the cord, not the owner. A driving passion to create the world's best sounding and performing guitar and instruments cables with a vintage flair. So, welcome to the show. Tune in, turn up the volume and get ready to bump into today's guest. G'day Thomas, how you going?
Hey, mate, can you hear me?
I've got you.
Nice, man. Nice, mate. Firstly, I just want to say, thank you for this. And
thank you, for wanting to come on and talk about your products and your business too. It sounds good.
Yeah, I just feel really honoured and flattered that you reached out for a small little biz from Windsor or the Hawkesbury in Sydney. It's yeah.
I mean, look, the reason was that I thought that too is the first thing that gelled when I saw the photos. I came across the product was it just screams quality.
Yeah.
It just screams attention to detail. It screams perfection. It screams, I want to make something that's better than what everyone else has. And and the whole, I love the life tool thing. I like that, whether it's not, if it's a cordless drill or if it's, a guitar that you're buying, something that's got that life tool built into the model. We're losing that.
And as you know, I think there's two ways I can answer that. I think in my industry, and you're a guitarist, and within the niche of cables, every story you hear is I lost it, it broke. XYZ, and where I come from and my philosophy and how I kind of grew up, and I suppose my approach to music and whatnot, and music instruments is buy it once and have it for a lifetime. Buy a really good guitar, or depending on where you're at as an artist or whatever. But the lifetime thing's always stuck to me, and I think quality was drilled into me as a child, and even just in the music stores I worked in. So for me, it's very important. The lifetime thing is very important, and especially for something like a cable.
Because it can let you down at the most inconvenient moment.
Yeah, that's it. My worst fear is some of our artists use these, on stages like the Red Rocks Amphitheatre and all that kind of thing. And the worst thing for me and my team would be a cable failing live. So this is why we kind of went the extra step to really put our stake in the ground and say, no, we're gonna push on this and actually build something of quality. Not that things aren't quality. I'm sure they are, but we want to just make very sure that you're getting the best you can put your money for. So
well, then it feels that way, because I know you walk into a guitar
you purchased
shop.
one, man. So thank you so much for that too. By
look,
the way,
everything, even I have to say that the packaging, the way it comes, the box that it comes in with the ropes hanging off it, everything screams attention to detail. It doesn't scream that it was rushed, that it was slapped together. It you can tell it took time to think about, it took
Yes.
money
Yeah.
to create.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Definitely.
and it shows like the opening unboxing, you get that sense of it before you've even picked it up and plugged it in.
Yeah, I
So
like that experience as a consumer, and with anything I buy. But for me, it was, when I made the decision to hand make something during COVID, I just thought, okay, like let's do this properly. And from my experience working in music retail and dealing with a lot of music shops, I just always thought packaging. To talk about the packaging for a second, I thought the packaging, like, in these places, didn't really demand real estate in the shop,
yeah,
on the shelf or on the counter, and it really didn't say something. And I wanted to do that with my product. I wanted it to pack, wanted it to hang sell, I wanted it to feel good, I wanted it to be a bit of an experience when you open it. So I think, I think there will be another iteration of that box, but to me, it's a bit different, and I wanted my artists and customers to experience a bit of a vibe, when they open a product. Even though if it is a cable, I
yeah.
still want them to understand and enjoy that,
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's look, it shows, because most of the shelves are full of products that are competing on price point. They're trying to make
Yeah,
something as
race to
cheap
the
as they
bottom
can.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's never a winner. And if you
No.
are the winner in that race, I don't think that's a trophy you want on your shelf.
Yeah, I don't believe that's a good thing, mate.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
in Australia too, with the RRP system we have here. Dealers just compete themselves to nothing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the profit you build into the product can get
Yeah.
taken away. So it's definitely an art, that alone, mate. But a
Yeah.
lot of products, I think, in the accessories ranges do come in those ugly bloody clamshell packaging, and I hate
Yeah.
plastic.
Yep.
I
Me
didn't
too.
even want to have the little plastic guard on my box, but I kind of talked myself into it because we were exporting these things. So I thought you
Yeah.
better have some protection. Um,
Yeah. Yep.
it's just,
Yep.
yeah, what do you do? But my thing is to not go too near the whole clamshell, um, heavy plastic bag thing. I just think it's tasteless, and if you're
Yeah.
putting a
No, it
product out
is.
there, you might as well do it right and with a bit of effort.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's exactly right. And that's what's, certainly stood out. And even on your social media stuff, the quality of the photos that are on
Yeah,
there, I mean, it just made it look so.
yeah. Shout out to Chris in Melbourne. He's such a good photographer, man.
Yeah,
Such a
look,
good
that they're
photographer.
outstanding photos because they catch your eye. It really captures the essence of, I suppose, the vintageness
Yep,
that the product has, but
yep, yep, yep.
also the clarity of quality comes across as well. It's he's done well to get that across then in a photo because it stands out. It does stand out, and the product when you actually get it reflects how it looks. So it's not like you're then getting something and going, oh yeah, it looks similar to what I thought. It turns up and you're still wowed by it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for pointing that out, mate, because that's really valuable feedback to hear that, because that's essentially what I want. I want it to translate properly, and I want it to look properly and just feel right,
Yeah,
from Instagram to the front door or to your jam room. And
yeah,
and I'll just mention Chris again, Christopher Paulson in Melbourne. Like, I've never he's just one of those photographers that just take your breath away with how he shoots people or objects. And yeah, I just can't thank that guy enough. He's such a good friend, and he's just very talented, man, and he understands what's going on. Also on Muso,
oh,
you
so
know
he gets it.
oh, he
Yeah,
gets it,
yeah,
man. Yeah, he's got a bunch of them. I just keep giving
yeah.
him products.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, talk me through because obviously, this doesn't happen easily and you've got to source parts for it. You've got the connectors, the cable itself. So there's a lot of elements that go into making that. And then you've got your own protective seal that you've
Yeah,
done.
yep.
So, the steps. So finding, first of all, the manufacturer would have been difficult that makes the cable that meets the quality that you want to use.
Yes,
So that would
very
have been a
hard.
challenge in itself because once again, it is a market that's dominated by yeah, it meets an XYZ standard, but there's also a massive grade of difference between within that standard, and
Of
that's
course, yeah.
it's like everything.
Sourcing's very hard, especially for a niche within a niche, which is a coily cable, mate. It's
Yeah, well, I was going to ask, what's the go with the? I mean, look, I understand it's a vintage look and all the rest of it, but
yeah, yeah.
is the
What's with the
idea?
coily?
Yeah, is it for sound? Is that a thing that?
Yeah, so I think it's 50-50, a big part of these coily cables is nostalgia.
Yeah.
Hendrix used one, and I'm sure a myriad of other guitarists used them back in the day. So it's aesthetically, they look the part in photos, on stages with other products. They look really good.
They do look good. Yeah.
Yeah, they look great, man.
The guitarist for the Southern River Band uses one,
Yeah,
and it
that's it.
stands out. It
Yep.
just it does have that look, and they've got that sort of 70s vintage feel about
Yeah,
about
yep,
their music and their
yep, yep, yep.
presentation, and it ticks the box. It's not trying to be something; it ticks what it is.
Yeah, so there's definitely the fashion side of it, or the aesthetic side of it, but also the sound as well. Like back in the day, these things rolled off a lot of the top end in the sound.
Oh, so it's a
That
bit warmer sounding.
Yeah, a bit warmer sounding, because back then I believe PAs weren't as powerful as they are now.
Yep. So they
So
were all
so
driving
guitarists
their
were,
amps harder.
yeah. So they're using, like, 100-watt plexi heads
Yep.
and God knows what else, maybe two of them live
Yeah.
to
And they're
get.
super bitey.
Oh,
They
that man, like they're
yeah.
so ice picky. It's like crazy.
Yeah.
And if you know, to get even more intricate, like if you use like a single coil or a Fender Strat on like
Yep.
the bridge pickup, like it's just going to rip your face off.
Yeah. Yep.
If you're using like a standard cable. So tonally and sonically, I think they helped a lot back then. But guitar cable technology, and insulation within those cables, the copper used has all been improved. So now they're not as dull, and we designed ours to be not as dull, and but sound a bit more fuller in the mid range. So depending, I suppose, how you're playing or what guitars you're playing with, and also the crazy thing is with coils, like if you stretch the thing out, you're going to get more highs come in because you're affecting the sound that way too.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so with them all coiled together, you're having a higher capacitance, and if you lengthen it out, you're lowering the capacitance of the cable. So with lower capacitance, you're getting actually a bit more top end. So they do have their place sonically, but also aesthetically.
And what about, tell me if this is a really silly question, but you know, if you wind a cable around something and you have those coils that can tend to act like an antenna, is it more susceptible to picking up interference being wound or less susceptible?
I'm going to say it all depends if it has a. Don't quote me on this. I should definitely ask Pete about this. But if you Pete's my lead technician, but I think the conductive layer of it's conductive PVC, which is black stuff that goes in between the center conductors and the outer.
It cancels out.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Yep.
sure it cuts most of that out, and that's
Yep.
that's somewhat of the technology being improved now,
Right. Yep.
in these newer guitar cables. Like that conductive shield or semi-conductive shield cuts out most of that excessive noise that can happen.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And is there, because I've noticed too when you look at the plugins, they've got like a copper tip.
Yeah, so we use G&H exclusively for these. G&H are a USA company, established company, and I've been using them for these coils for a long time, and probably will continue to use them. One, because of the quality, and two, because the copper tip is something that adds a bit more connectivity to from the center conductor to your sound. So, whether you're going to hear it or not, I think it's nice to have it in there. And I like the product because it does just differentiate from every other plug in the market.
Yeah.
Plus they
That's right.
really look vintage. Like
Yeah.
that's
Well, it's interesting with the copper. Probably maybe a little bit of relevance, but I spoke to an engine builder once who worked on a lot of like high performance NASCAR, V8 supercar style
Sure.
engines. And he
Cool.
said to
Well,
me, he said, look, at the end of the day, your iridiums and your platinums, yeah, they're harder and will last longer. But if you want the biggest, fattest spark for that moment in time, you're still going to use copper.
yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. There's a big argument about like gold plugs, gold plated audio plugs. Does it matter? You know,
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think nickel and copper are probably one of the best conductors. We use silver solder. Silver's a better conductor. So we even use silver solder on our connections just to make sure it's stronger and really conducting properly and nicely there.
And that would no
But
doubt be a lot more expensive than normal solder too.
yeah, man, yeah, it's quite
Yeah.
up there. But for me, it was just sourcing the best stuff,
From
the
start
best
to
people to
finish.
make them, and then going even further than that and developing a patent pending product
So
for
you,
that cable.
that's sealed. So that's obviously the patent pending
Yeah, yeah.
that you've got for it. So I'm guessing, is that what goes over? Like, how does that work? What does that cover?
So that hermetic seal, which we've branded IsoCoat,
Yeah.
that hermetic seal is a non-conductive sealant, and that seals our solder joints and essentially the
Right.
whole operation. So there's no copper exposed, and
So
there's nothing
nothing
exposed to the
exposed to the
elements.
air. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's I don't know if you've ever seen this, but we've worked on so many amplifiers, so many guitars, fixed so many cables, and all that stuff, and corrosion is a big thing, and these things do corrode.
Yeah.
We've even used some cable out of our warehouse, and the corrosion's actually leaked up into the cable itself and started to
And
eat
started
away.
tracking.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So we just thought, okay, let's do something with this, and the whole way to stop that is to hermetically seal the whole termination assembly.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
never been done, and we're
So you're
really
the
going to push
first
for it because
to do
yeah,
that.
yeah, I think we work with pretty good patent attorneys, and we think we have something here. You know, it's a big thing. I'm learning patents are a crazy world.
Well, yeah, and you'd be battling across multiple countries too. It's not just here at home. You've got
No, no,
obviously
we
the
want to do
biggest
this
market
properly,
is
and
yeah.
yeah, we want to do it properly, and we're protected in 180 countries at the moment.
Wow,
Yeah, it's
180 countries. That's no
yeah,
small
so
task.
yeah, so it's been a crazy thing, mate. Like I've been working on this hermetic seal for 2 years, and just getting it right, and doing it properly, and making sure we can actually have something that stands the test of time, you know, because that's what matters to us the most as a company.
Wow. And is there any plan to do straight chords and little,
Of
the
course, yeah,
right, so
yeah,
that's next.
yeah, mate, yeah, we get asked for it a lot, and part of my, you know, I suppose part of my a bit of my strategy was to just do a niche within a niche really well and see how that goes. It was my first time at bringing a product to market,
Right.
um, and I wanted to see what happens. But yeah, we've been selling these things for about 3 years now. Excuse me, and we've broken into the US market, China, Thailand, Belgium, UK, and Australia, and just with these coily cable line. And I think it's time now, probably 25, we're going to start doing something special with straight cables. But it's interesting, Francis, like I kind of shot myself in the foot a bit because the packaging's so damn good for these coils. Um, I kind of have to follow it up with something for a straight cable, you
For a
know, and
straight one now.
yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
I kind of want to, the brand's developed to this point, and I kind of want to keep that vibe, you know.
Yeah.
So it's taken a bit longer than planned, but we are doing that definitely. And mic cables, and we're going to bleed the patent through a whole line of products.
Well, okay. And then you going, international like you have. The
Yep.
the
Yep.
challenges of setting up dealers, distribution, finding people that can represent, push, and support the product. Has that been a nightmare?
Um, a nightmare? Not really, no. Um, there has been challenges in business, as you know.
Yeah.
Some people you gel with, some people you don't. There are some hurdles we had to overcome, but I think for the most part, we got approached by a lot of shops to stock them, and they were,
Oh, that always makes it easier.
yeah, they approached
Yeah.
us, and you know, getting them in a shop like Chicago Music Exchange. I actually approached them. I sent them some samples, and we didn't hear anything. And then they placed an order, 8 months later, and here we are. And then more American shops started contacting us, just online,
Oh.
trying
Is
to stock
that
these things. But a nightmare? I don't think so. Like I think every business has its challenges, and exporting alone can be quite difficult. What
yeah.
what the nightmare could be, well, not nightmare, but what the challenges we're facing now is supply and demand. Um, getting the plugs. Like,
Oh, so
we
you
just, yeah,
struggle to get the stuff you need
we
to
no, we
keep.
get it. We definitely get it, but um, it's getting them on time.
Yeah.
Um, you know, there's been massive price changes. As you
Like
know,
everything.
you like
Yeah.
everything, mate.
Yep.
Labor, we're paying Australian labor here, and as you
Yep.
know, that is like one of the most expensive in the world, I believe.
Yep.
So challenges in that way.
And
So
you plan to
mm,
keep that? Is or would
of
you look at
course,
the
yeah.
right?
No,
So that's
we
the
will never.
thing.
No,
You
we
won't
will
do
never.
like a two-tier, like a
No, no, we'll
one
never do it.
range. Right. Yeah.
No,
Okay.
it's premium only, and like, yeah, I just, for me, I suppose it's more of a nationalist thing. I do want to keep people employed here. You
Yeah.
know, um, I want to fly that flag, and it, if we have a 10-person team, which is quite a lot, and it stays at that size, that'd be excellent.
Yeah.
I just hired someone else this week actually to start building because we can't keep up with demand.
Wow. Geez, that's really
So
good. I mean, that's great that it's constantly improving and going up.
yes, yeah, it's been quite, the growth has been quite steady for this line of products. So I haven't wanted to rush in and build a new product just yet because this line is still growing, and I don't want to drop the ball with that attention that it needs.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there, in 25, I think we will do, well, we definitely will do a straight line, and really penetrate the market a bit more, because coilies are a niche within a niche, mate.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but it's a good way to crack the market open internationally, I think.
Well, yeah, that's right. You mean you've created your own niche market, and then obviously once guys know that you can buy the patch leads and you can get the
Yeah,
long
that's it.
straight leads or
That's
the
it.
speaker cable leads, it's just
That's
going to
it.
be like, well, I
Yeah,
know that works, and I want my
yeah,
start to
that's it.
finish from the
That's it.
guitar through the pedal board all the way back, to be the same, one and the same.
That's it. Yeah, like the coilies, I think there was a lot of talk in the industry of bad coilies, and I just thought, okay, let's do it. I love the colors.
The
I
colors
could
are great.
I could do
It
something
makes
great
it
with the
hard to
packaging.
choose.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
man. Caramel is like where it's at, and the Chicago cream you got is an exclusive for Chicago Music Exchange in North America. Um, so
Yeah.
that one I get asked a lot about. So I dare say there'll be a straight cable coming in that color, and available everywhere.
Yeah, no, it does. It's a great color, and I was on the fence with the caramel too. That was the one that I was deciding between. Those
Yeah,
was
mate.
those two because it's both of them have something special about them. That's for sure.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I put a bit of time into those colors. Look, I'm a car guy, and it's another one of my passions, and I love that, 50s, 60s era, 70s era, I suppose, space race style design and coloring that happened back then. It's
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
timeless.
It is. It is. Yeah, it definitely is. You'll have to look at making a candy apple red one.
Yeah, the red we choose, the voltage red I'm going to call it. It's not candy apple. It's, I don't know what you call it, but yeah, a deeper red, and I've been asked for a deeper green too.
But
Um,
that in itself is a massive challenge too to try and get
yeah,
the
it's,
coloring.
look,
Yeah,
without getting into, the details of the manufacturing too much. It is a thing. It is a thing, man. it is a thing. And I'll tell you what, like even getting a straight cable that we're happy with to our standard is a challenge. It's a challenge. So
Nice.
because we're quite pedantic with what we want, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's fair enough. That's your position in the market. So
Mm,
you have to
mm.
be to maintain that. Otherwise, it can change quickly, and you want to maintain what you've built.
Yeah, I think it's easy as a business to just push products out or services. But we just want to be sure about things. You know, we once we released ISO code, a lot of people asked us for patch cables, mic cables,
All
everything,
right.
and I could just probably do it half-assed at the moment, but I would much rather spend the time, build the IP, brand it properly, make it an experience. You know, I'm all about that, making a product an experience.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's going to be exciting to see the new products come then. I mean,
Yeah,
people
thank
will
you,
be
mate.
hanging out for them.
Yeah, yep, yep, yep.
Myself included, I'll definitely be hanging out
Yeah, we'll hook you up. Don't
for
worry.
what comes.
I'll
So
send you a care pack, mate.
thank you. Yeah, I'll be hanging out for that for sure.
Yeah,
And the other side of the business, I mean, you're an agent for several international
yep,
products as well.
yep, yep, yep. Yeah,
And
there's a
is that
distribution side.
yourself? So
Yep,
you're
that's all me.
bringing
Yep.
those in to the country and then distributing them onwards
Yeah,
to.
so I started as a distributor and um I made a lot of contacts in America and you know, I suppose my job here was even, 10 years ago they were a lot smaller than they are now and I I, I built market for them here through a network of brick and mortar retailers in Australia. And through that network in Australia, I soon learned what these businesses wanted, and artists wanted as well, and that was a cable line. So you could call it a sister or like a distribution brand product, the Voltage Cable Co. But it's kind of got its own legs now and separating itself, which is nice to see.
Yeah.
But yes, the other side of the business is distributing and building market for USA brands here through a network of dealers. Yeah,
Yeah, okay. So you kept busy on both fronts. There's
yeah,
no
I'm so
doubt
busy,
about
mate.
that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's it's so good though. I love what I do, and it's great. Bringing really cool products in that I enjoy. You know.
Well, look, if you can enjoy what you do, that's the main thing, isn't it? That's three
Yeah,
quarters of the battle won, really.
definitely, definitely. I tried working jobs, and it's just I think I'm definitely an owner operator or director.
Yeah. Steer your
I
own ship. Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
could work a job, but I think I'm much happier steering my own ship. As
Yeah.
probably you are too, right? Being
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
1990,
And
1998.
it's not, I mean, everyone wants enough or more money, but it's not just
Yeah,
about that. It's just about
no,
that.
that time, right?
Yeah, the time, a little bit of
Yeah,
freedom, a little bit of
yeah, yeah,
creativity.
yep. That's it.
It adds up sometimes, and it makes it. That's what can make the hardship and the worthwhile. Really, is all those other things.
1,000%. For me, if I have to work, I definitely will work my ass off, and I do every day. It's a lifestyle, but I suppose there's that very common saying is if you weren't passionate about it, you probably couldn't work this hard at something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so
100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
I love it, mate. It's all good. It's such a thrill. Like, even I got approached by a very reputable um, sales manager in America a few weeks ago, and he wants to sell the product, and it's just such a good feeling that you're doing something in the market and you've created something that works. It's such a good feeling. So
And obviously the artists coming on board too, seeing it being
yeah,
used. I
man,
mean,
like
that's
that
got to
is
be a buzz.
it just spins me out, mate. Like it's
Yeah.
it's so funny. We actually started doing some marketing, like we've never marketed, and I thought I'd contact Premier Guitar in the US and do a bit of marketing, and their lead rig rundown guy, John Bollinger, has been using our cables for like 2 years already
Oh,
and he's been posting videos of it. And I was like, oh, we should do a video with John. And they came back to me and they're like, he's already using them, mate. Like, so it's definitely flattering having these artists like that
yeah, jumping on board
just
because they
use
want
it
to. Yeah.
organically. That's,
Yeah.
I think that's nice to see that. Um, Obviously the product's doing something, right? It's speaking to someone.
Well,
And that's
100%. Organic
yeah,
growth it's the true reflection of
yeah, that's it.
the product and the business and the people
Yeah,
that are behind it.
that's it.
Because
That's it.
a great marketing campaign can see anyone shoot up to the top of the charts, but they often
Yeah,
don't stay there, and it just becomes this cycle of who's up
that's
and
it,
who's
mate.
down. So if organic really is the true testament to yourself and your quality of product.
Yeah, it's very I'm very humbled and grateful for it. I always pinch myself, mate, when some of the artists that use them, like Jed Hughes and Vincent Neil Emerson and Melanie Faye, and I can just keep naming these massive names, mate. Like it's such a cool thing to see, and seeing them on stages is another thing,
Yeah.
Um,
That would be
it's just so cool, mate.
yeah,
Like
yeah, that
for
would be a great
being
feeling.
a guitarist and building a product that the pros use is something special, I think.
I'm stoked that someone doing something better is making a success of it, and you're not having to cut corners and shave margins to compete with the
No, yeah, that's
bargain
it.
bin. So it's
Yeah, that's it.
yeah,
I think as a business owner, like it's just a losing game. There's big players like Amazon, and
yep.
I don't even know, mate. Like you probably see this in your industry with sourcing like cameras and all that noise.
Yep. Oh, look, the thing that
Like
people struggle with, and I explained this to someone the other day, that was pricing things around and asking for a favor. And I said to them, you have to understand that profit isn't a dirty word. Profit means I'm here tomorrow to answer your call, and I'm here in 12
that's it.
months to look
That's it,
after
mate.
your
Yep,
warranty.
that's it.
Profit is never a dirty word. Okay, there's greed, but the word profit
Yeah,
doesn't mean it's not a dirty word, and you shouldn't ever confuse that if it's 20% um, from trade to retail or whatever that percentage on top is, how valuable that 20% is that keeping the wheels turning and the engine lubricated. It's
1000%. Yep,
and
yep.
I don't, unless
Couldn't
you've
agree
been
more.
in business, you can't comprehend it. And once I explained it to her, she was a bit like, "Oh, geez, no one's ever actually explained that to me like that." And
Yeah, yep,
and
yep, yep.
and now I feel bad for price hopping. And I'm like, well, well, there
Mm.
you go. It's just, but yeah, I think it comes from being in the business world and understanding how hard you have to work for that small margin you put on the materials and
Thousand
what
percent.
it
Yeah,
what it
yeah.
means. It creates stability. It's the reason you can hire someone else, and it's the reason that that person can hopefully get ahead, buy a nicer car, buy a nicer house. It's just
Well,
the trickle on
yeah,
effect.
that's exactly right. And you know, our thing is over the lifetime, a guitarist is they may buy they may buy that cable for that purpose 10 times,
Yeah.
and spend $500 for a $50 cable.
Yeah.
But if they buy ours, they're going to get it once, and that's it. And
Yeah.
it's not crazily priced either. It's actually, when you look at it that way, it's actually quite good. And if you want
And
the service, warranty is another thing, but we even brought in transferable warranty. This is how much we're backing our products.
oh wow,
If you
geez.
pass it on to someone, we're gonna warrant it, mate. Like
Yeah, see,
so.
I mean, that's in today's
Hmm.
business model, people hope that
Yeah,
everyone forgets and loses receipts. So,
yeah. Well, it's like that whole thing, right? Of like, I suppose it's the hyper capitalism thing
yeah,
that we're kind of going through now, and Amazon's somewhat to blame for that, I think. Just the pressure to buy and get things the next day or in a few hours and do it again and do it again. Like people learn those habits. It's very interesting where we're at for commodities and everything like that, I think, Francis. Back onto the profit thing, like I listened to a book by I don't want to mess his name up. I think it's Yancey Stickler, the guy who founded Kickstarter.
oh, okay,
Um, and I think I think he kind of changed my mind a little bit on profit, about like the profit may not be, um, monetary profit. It can be profit within the culture of your business.
yeah, that's an interesting way of looking
Yeah,
at
it
it.
was an
It's
interesting philosophy
yeah,
or an interesting way to
yeah,
look at things. Instead of outsourcing to China and doing all these crazy things or anywhere else, excuse me, it's the profit you build into your products or your services by keeping people employed in your country, um, can be seen culturally, emotionally. That really struck a chord to me the way he kind of viewed that. It was quite a cool way to look at business, you know.
And that's
I,
playing the long game, that
of
mindset.
course,
That's
yeah,
the
of
long
course,
game. And
yeah, of
that's what a
course,
lot of people don't look at. Everyone's playing the short game. They want that
yeah. I don't
high.
know who's
Yeah.
teaching these people that, mate. Like,
It's
I
I
haven't gone
don't
to
know.
uni, or I'm not, you know,
Yeah, I don't know
I've
if
just done high
it's
school. But is it taught in MBA? Is it just to do all this stuff and
yeah, it's
you
that
know,
would be
like,
an interesting thing to try and dissect because it
mm,
does seem the majority are interested in this short-term burst of
yeah,
profit
let's
and
build something up and
success
exit,
and
right?
greed.
Let's
Yeah,
exit.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that last a lifetime. Yeah,
And you know you're fortunate that you can do that and you have done that.
yeah,
It's actually a
yeah.
proven business
100,
model for yourself now.
1,000%. And I just want to say this too. Like, I'm so incredibly grateful that I am in Australia, um, to have the opportunity to even think this way and make products like this, and have the opportunity to do that because it's yeah. I think Australia is part of that reason why I'm doing this and exporting. And I think Australia has a standard that people know worldwide and are becoming to know. You know, look at
Yeah.
Iron Williams and all these other brands.
Yeah,
Um,
100%. I mean, they're very expensive shoes,
very, very expensive.
and
Yeah.
they sell exceptionally well, and they're sold all over the world. So, you know, that's proof that a premium product can warrant a premium price tag and do well out of it.
Yeah. And even our food, mate, you know, like I suppose our energy too. Um, but our food definitely. And I went up to the Blue Mountains, a few days ago with my dad, and I did a bit of a business trip because I was meeting up with my e-commerce guy to talk a bit of strategy and stuff. And I put the Dick Smith podcast on that you've done, and
Oh, yeah, yeah.
it was excellent, mate. Like it was
Oh,
such a
thanks.
good listen. Yeah, it was interesting to hear him speak about Aldi and his philosophies on that and their strategy. And yeah, it was a great podcast, mate. I just want to say that. So
Yeah, I appreciate that. That was one of the very early ones that I've done too. So you sort of
right,
look back on your early work and go, "Oh, geez, I could have done better."
yeah, but man, it was a good listen. I think we're all our own worst critic, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's such a cool thing that you're doing this. And I looked at some of your guests, and I half listened to the one with David, from the Dead Daisies.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Yeah, and you're putting out great content, mate. It's such a good thing. I think it's needed because you know for for a business person like myself in Australia, listening to that Dick Smith thing was like really informative and inspiring.
Yeah. Oh, look,
So
I'm really glad that that had an effect on you like that because it's
yeah, yeah,
that's what makes the hours of putting into it and the costs of running it and
yeah,
editing and putting things together and chasing people worthwhile.
yeah, and
So
rushing home after a busy day of demanding clients.
yeah, exactly right. Yeah. So no,
Yeah,
I'm glad that you enjoyed it and got that out of it because he does have an interesting view and he has makes a lot of good points, Dick
a lot
Smith,
of very good points. Yeah.
and they sort of fall on deaf ears at a government level, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, and yeah, there's so many things like to point out within that conversation you had with him. I suppose we could talk about Aldi and how they've kind of used somewhat of a cheap model to now sell branded things, and just slowly bleed these more expensive brands back into their offerings in their
Yeah,
grocery stores now.
yeah,
It's interesting. They sold really cheap stuff and for a long time, and now their model's kind of changing a bit, probably because they got a lot more market share.
yeah, yeah. That's right. Yeah, so they're in a position now to shift
Mm.
slightly, and
I hope
yeah.
Coles and Woolies don't go away, like how Dick was saying, but I don't know what will happen. It kind of really opened my eyes a bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, you certainly can't see it happening, but you wouldn't, if I had said to you back in 2010 or 12 that Holden one
Mm.
day would be gone, you'd be saying, what is this guy talking about?
Yeah, like such a historical, bloody
Yeah,
Australian-made thing is
yeah.
like gone.
Every second car was a Holden,
Yeah,
and
that's
who
it.
would have
That's
thought
it.
that okay, yeah, maybe they may have taken manufacturing offshore, but to be gone,
Mm.
it just would have been unthinkable, totally unthinkable. And then now you get to the point where it's been gone for quite a while, and you know, Ford guys are starting to like Holdens because everyone's actually realizing that we lost a lot when those two brands stopped their flagship Australian cars. We really did
Yeah.
lose a lot.
The Holden Ute, right?
Yeah,
Like it's just like that thing should never go away. Even the Ford Falcon, like
yep. Anything can
yeah,
happen, and that's a scary thing. Eventually,
that
anything can
100%.
happen.
Yeah, that's it'd be crazy to think that Coles and Woolies will go.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, Hopefully none of them do. Maybe one might, as Dick was saying. And like the other thing too is like he would know, right? Like his idea of that would be so much. It would hold so much weight because he's just done it with the food and he's experienced so much
yeah. That's right. That's right.
in
And
that
you know,
industry.
yeah, yep. And he's seen his own big retail business go from a thriving business to virtually
Mm,
now it's just an
mm.
online store that's a division of another online.
So are they still doing like? Is it like a third party aggregator? They're just like
Yeah, so
selling.
it's a basically another website that's linked with Kogan.
Okay, right.
So
Okay.
that's all it really is. It's just
So the
it's there
branding's
as a
there, and
brand.
they yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's it, you know, and you how often does a bigger company buying a smaller company end well? It's not that
Mm.
often that that happens, and especially when it's being bought by investors.
Yeah, they just swallow it and
Yeah,
do with what they
yeah,
will, you know.
yeah. It's
The philosophies go and they either take the tech or the IP and just
yeah.
rinse it, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And whether or not their intentions are good or their intentions are to grow it, it just
Mm.
becomes another corporate puzzle piece. And no one seems to ever be accountable or look back and go, oh, okay, well, what went wrong the last time this similar thing happened? Let's change it for
Mm.
this one. Or let's just go
Mm.
and talk to the people that are in the business instead of just buying it and firing them
Yeah.
and find out why
Yeah,
it
yeah.
worked so well and what they thought could have made it even better. But, oh, no, that seems to be a bit too far-fetched.
Yeah, 100%. Like it's
Sometimes the
yeah.
basics are the best, and people overlook it. And they look to make things complicated. They look
Mm.
anywhere other than at the basics. And
That whole like keep it simple, stupid saying,
yeah, yeah. Well, and it's easy to think that you could buy something or change something, and it would
mm,
make a difference because
mm,
you know sometimes the basics are very hard to do. You know, it comes down to being a bit faster or a bit stronger. That's only going to happen if you put the effort in. It's not going to happen because you bought $120 item on eBay.
yeah, you see it a lot. You see it a lot in the music world too, with a lot of guys buying like, crazy expensive guitars and, you know,
Yeah,
the most expensive amplifier and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, tone is kind of in the hands, right? Relates to everything, I think,
yeah.
like,
It is, and it's a frustrating thing. You know,
yeah.
I speak to people too, and I'm like, "Well, what's this pedal? Or what brand of speaker are you using?" And you just sort of you're hunting for that to get
Don't,
something better, but
yeah,
it comes down to
yeah,
just being a better player.
yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like I run I'm so obsessed with like good quality gear. I started a bloody company about it. But like I love this. I love that side of it. But also being an artist, you know, making a 4 chord song isn't. It seems easy, but making something that sounds good and creating a moment is also simple. But you got to practice.
Yeah,
You have to put the time in to sound good.
yeah,
Um,
100%. Yeah,
be the same with AFL and boxing or anything else
yeah.
really, I suppose.
And a lot of that stuff can all fall down to once you hit the record button, then all of a sudden,
Oh yeah, that record
yeah,
anxiety is like a real thing. As soon as you see that
yeah,
red light, it's like
yeah,
something's different. Something's watching
yeah,
you.
yeah,
Something spooky going on there, man.
and if you're that bulletproof in your practice and your preparation and
Mm,
you've done it enough, then that takes the edge off those sort of things happening. So it comes back
of course,
again to
yeah,
going all the way through to focus on the basics and build that base, make sure the footings are
yeah.
strong.
That's it, yeah. And I think that muscle memory of locking in to the zone or the moment is what makes great touring musicians and recording artists. How long have you been playing music for?
As a kid, I was probably about 13, say 14.
Nice, nice.
So, I was never, I'm certainly no great player at all, but
Mm, mm,
I had in my head what I wanted to play and sound like and the people that I admired, and I
yeah,
just would spend hours and hours. And for me, it was about the sound. I was
yeah,
never overly
yeah, yeah,
impressed
yeah.
by the talent. There was always guitarists that were extremely talented,
Hmm.
but that didn't appeal to me. To me, it
Hmm.
was about the way the sound came across and the way it made you feel, and just deep, full-bodied, roaring
Mm,
guitars.
mm,
That was
mm.
what appealed to me. And
Yeah,
I
so
just,
that's what drew you in
yeah,
is just
yep,
the how the noise affected you
yeah,
and
it
took
was
over your
that's,
emotions. A
and
good
so
guitar tone, man. Oh my God,
and
something
I
we
chased
both
it.
love. That going back to brands disappearing, like seeing Marshall go would be a big one. I think
And
that's
it worries me that I
they
can see
sold
that.
recently. I think to someone.
Yeah, they've sold to Zound, who make
Yeah,
headphones. It seems to now just become a brand that they're playing off the legacy of, and
yeah, like a
there's no
lifestyle
one.
thing, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it worries me, from being a Marshall person, that
yeah,
you can see this brand just turning into, oh, that's what everyone used to use.
yeah. Well, Slash used to use them, right? He moved
Yeah,
to
yeah,
Magnetone.
yeah, yep.
That's
And
kind of when I saw that, I went, okay.
yeah,
Like I've owned a Magnetone, and they're amazing amplifiers. They sound spectacular. High
oh,
fidelity is amazing. Yeah, it is what they say on the box.
right.
You know?
Okay.
They're excellent amplifiers. So I can see why he went there. But to me, it's like, okay, like so they've probably got all the cash in the world.
Well, and like Doug
So
Aldridge,
does he, right?
he's left,
Yeah.
he's not with Marshall anymore. He's gone over to the Black Star guys who used to be at Marshall.
That's it.
Um,
Yeah, the other Brits doing their thing, you know.
yeah, and to me it just seems and that you've got the characters and the personalities who were there are leaving.
Mm,
And now
mm.
it becomes there's a CEO in her office. He's in the
Yeah,
office,
VC
don't.
backed, right? Something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's a shareholder owned company, and
yeah,
you pick
yeah,
up the phone and, oh no, he doesn't work here anymore. Oh, we've got someone that might be able to help you. Where before it was the people and the personalities that had the
yeah,
relationships. And
yeah. That's what this industry is about. Um, you know, that if someone has a problem with a cable, they're going to talk to me or Pete or Sean,
there's
one of the lead
someone.
one of the
That's right.
technicians, someone, you
Yep.
know, or
Yep.
my sales guys, or
Yep.
yeah, there's
And
going to be
and
someone,
you
two
know,
people
it
removed, you know, kind of thing from the owner.
and dealing
Yeah,
with the person, if you gel with that personality, you feel proud to use that product.
100%. Yeah,
And it
yeah.
just has this flow on effect, and it all comes back to that relationship and that personality. And if you take them out of a
Mm.
company
Yeah.
that gets so big and becomes a shareholder driven company, and it's a
Mm.
brand within a brand within a brand,
Mm.
10 items down the chain,
Mm.
how then, you either become a legacy brand at best or you disappear at worst.
I think we saw it with Gibson, right? How they turn into like this. It was when they were doing all that weird stuff with like robo tuners and
Yeah,
all
yeah,
this, like the guitars sucked, and it was like a bit of a back. That was back when I was managing a retail store, and it was kind of like a bad word. Um, Now they turned it
yeah,
around. I think they had the Levi's guy come on board. That was the start of it. He had mojo, you know, quote
yeah,
unquote,
yeah.
and he brought that originality, you know, denim jeans thing back to
Back to
Gibson.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that comes
um,
down to a person understanding the brand.
that's it. That's
and
it. You
and
know,
that person having enough power and flexibility to do that too. It's
yeah,
no,
that's it.
if you're going to hire the greatest CEO or marketing executive and
Yeah,
tie one hand around his back and send him into
yeah,
a
that's it.
boxing match, it's never going to end well.
That's it.
You
That's it,
know,
man. And look, I love these legacy brands in our industry, and I don't want to see them go away at all. And I'm also happy to be a tiny company doing our thing as well in this industry, and you know, looking up to guys like that. It's such a cool thing, and I just hope in the music industry it doesn't go away in
yeah,
our little corner of the world. You know, it's a great contrast for people who have been in business for so many years. But what I have learned is you can go and get a Harvard degree, a Harvard business degree, but if you haven't like put a product in the market and seen what happens, you don't really know yet. You got to do that. You know,
yeah,
you have to take action and do things like that, and feel how it feels to sell and not sell. You can, yeah, that kind of thing can't be taught. I don't
no,
think.
no,
I think
no,
you have to. It goes back to that keep it simple thing, right? Like you have to. You know, the first iteration of my cables did not look good, but I had one color. You know, um, but getting in the market was the most important thing to me, and learning what happens, and getting customer feedback, and you know,
yeah,
understanding that long tedious process as you kind of put it together at the start of this conversation. I think you can't teach that. Feelings that come that you take on board as a founder from customers, whether it be negative or positive, You can't buy that in a course.
A lot of people don't like taking in feedback.
No,
They've
no,
got the
you need it.
blinkers
It's
on.
crucial. It's
Yeah,
paramount
yeah,
in
yeah,
building any business. Yeah, it's a
yeah,
funny world, the music industry, mate.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it's so beautiful how music and art can impact people's lives like that. And
Oh, it can mean the
yeah,
world to people.
yeah,
It can mean so much to so many at different points in their lives. And it can be from, being that 14-year-old kid hearing a Marshall stack
that's
and
it.
going,
That's
"Oh
it.
my
That's
God,
it.
what is this?
Yeah,
I've never
yeah,
heard or felt this before," to
yeah.
being
What is
someone
that?
that's
Yeah, I can.
depressed and
Yeah,
hearing a song that stops them from doing the worst of
something.
things.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
It's a beautiful thing, man. And even when you talk to those people, those people that are like, oh, I don't listen to music, or I don't like, TV or something. They do. They just don't realize how it,
yeah,
how it connects to them. They just haven't
yeah.
really understood it yet, or thought about it
Or
much. But there is that
yeah,
song in
yep.
their memory somewhere. And isn't it such a beautiful thing that you had that strong emotion when you were 14, hearing a Marshall stack or hearing guitar tone, and then coming back to it later in your life. It's good, man. It's such a good thing for that to happen to you, to come back to that. It evokes such emotion in you. Like,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it can mean the
mm,
world, and it's timeless too. Like, I mean, a
yeah,
Marshall
yeah,
stack has been around for how long? But every time you hear it, it stops you in your tracks,
yeah.
and you're just
Man,
like,
like
oh,
I I I talked about it in a bit of a press thing we did with a publisher here called Mixdown Magazine. Like that, hearing those tones, being in those music stores as a kid, or being fortunate enough to be 6 years old and getting taken to like the Tamworth Country Music Festival. Um, those those moments are timeless, and you can't replace that. And this is why I think a lot of people do relate to like music in such a way, because it just impacts them a lot. And you know, my my teeth kind of got cut in the music store that I started in, because it was um, a boutique valve amp shop. So I was kind of like blessed, man,
oh,
like
yeah, you're amongst the
blessed. And
best of the best.
yeah,
Yes.
and Pete, my boss, who works for me now, or we work together. It's come full circle, mate. He's one of the best valve amp manufacturers in the country. Um, he built Reynolds valve amp, and yeah, they were very, very famous, and probably the best built amps I've seen come out of the world, if not Australia. And but the good thing was, mate, like I would come to work, and then Pete would be modding like a JCM 800 or a Plexi, like every day. We would just hear
Oh,
like the most
yeah.
visceral, beautiful tones, a Soldano, or whatever he was working on. So your ears got such an education on like
Yeah.
what sounded good. And I just, yeah, man,
What an exposure, what an experience that
it was beautiful,
was to
man.
be
Yeah, it was
involved in that and
beautiful.
be
Yeah.
exposed to it. I mean, yeah, that's so you were so lucky to get that starting.
Yeah, and I think going back to you and when you're a kid experiencing that, I hope everyone experiences that with guitar tone if they want to.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
I hope that
because
doesn't go
yeah,
away, man. I
yeah,
hope that doesn't go away.
yeah, yeah, no, but I hope that too, and those moments can mean the world to you and stick
Yeah,
with you forever, and it doesn't matter. It can be 20 years later and you hear it again, and it's just like, oh my God,
yeah.
it's
You
just
don't forget it. It's like riding a bike, right? Like
yeah, yep,
I
yep.
think well, not I think I went and saw Van Halen. I can't. He was playing with Aerosmith in Sydney.
Oh wow,
I can't remember what year it was. It was probably 2013. But man, I thought I understood guitar tone live until I went and saw that guy, and it was just like I've never heard anything as loud or just as cool as that tone. It was just like insane. Van Halen
wow.
was like insane to watch, man. I'm so glad I went and saw him
It,
before he passed.
it's amazing. Like Van Halen is people that are into it, that it's borderline obsession for them.
Yeah, I'm not one of those, but I appreciate the tone. Like, man, oh my god, just insane.
And what
Like
was he using? His plexis, or was he using the
5150s, I
5150?
think. Yeah,
Right,
5150s. I think he was using the Fender made EVHs at that time.
right. Yep.
Um, I believe it was Fender, but yeah, it was just killer, man. Who really knows what he's got plugged in backstage? Like,
Yeah, yeah. It can be a chassis.
it can be just like,
Yeah,
yeah, it can be
yeah,
something, or
yeah,
something his amp tech's done, or whatever. But
yeah.
it was just like, yeah, such a excellent overdriven guitar tone. I hope it doesn't die. Like I don't think it will. Guitar sales have they definitely jumped up in COVID. I think
Yeah. Well,
everyone was at home playing guitar.
yeah, because I know
There's
even
yeah,
PRS, Paul Reed Smith was making a podcast with someone, and he said they couldn't keep up. It just went through the roof, and he said the
yeah,
biggest
well,
challenge he had
yeah,
was coming out of that, having all
yeah,
these extra staff, what to do with them.
yeah. Well, I even know some businesses that took those sales on as like, I suppose, well, they thought it was going to continue, right? And they started
Yeah,
borrowing
yeah.
and all that business, and they got in a bit of trouble. But COVID was an interesting time. But it, a lot of guitars, a lot of guitar people now or players now are doing the whole digital thing. You know, play at home. I'm in an apartment.
Yep.
Use an
Yeah.
Axe FX or a Kemper or a neural DSP thing. And
Well,
look, there's definitely benefits to that. Definitely.
yeah. I mean, I suppose is the happy medium something like the Friedman IRX, where it's still a
Maybe.
valve-driven amp and you can
Yeah.
plug your headphones in.
Yeah. Being a purist, I'm kind of not really into things like that. I'm kind of like get a 5 watt or a 12 watt valve amp for home. And if you want to
Yep.
be really quiet, just plug into your studio, like a ear interface,
Yep.
and just
Yep.
use like a plug-in.
Yep.
Um, I think the hybrid kind of designs have their place in the market though. Like Line 6 were pretty big with that.
Yeah. Well,
But yeah,
they're massive in that space, aren't they? Yeah.
yeah, and I haven't really seen that Friedman product, but I'm sure it's good. He builds great products.
Yeah.
Really, he
Yeah.
builds
Yeah.
amazing products. Actually, he's a very talented man.
Have
They're
you
crazy.
heard Eric Steckel's Mezababa, his amp?
Yes, I spoke to
Um,
Mezababa, I think a few years ago. We just had a quick couple of DMs, and one of the artists we were working with was using them. But yeah, they're excellent amps, dude.
oh, the
Excellent
sound that
amps.
he gets out, like he does those, Instagram videos, and he's just
Yeah,
sitting at home.
dude.
My
Yeah,
God, that sound is incredible. It's just
yeah,
so deep, but it's not woofy or muddy. It's just this
yeah, yeah.
deep, beautiful, beautiful sound. But those amps in Australia, they're like $8,000-9,000.
Yeah, it's insane. Like we get hit with so much importing stuff, and even just look, I even think those guys, I don't know, maybe they're not probably not producing too many 240 volt transformers,
Yeah,
right?
maybe
It's all
that's it too.
120. Their
Yep.
main thing is they're shipping it into North America and wherever else. And but yeah, man,
Yeah, it'd be
it's
good to go over there and just be exposed to all that stuff. And
I think I'm going to do
yeah,
it. Like I've never been there. I've been doing business with Americans for quite some time now, and
yeah. Well, you'd be perfect. You could go to what their NAM show and
yeah, I had a conversation with my team um a few days ago, and I was going to push it for this one, the 25, but I don't think I'm ready. I don't really want to
oh,
stress out too
okay,
much.
yeah.
I think 26 is going to be the year. I just want to get in more stores over there, get more of a
Well,
vibe happening.
yeah, and I guess too, if you're hitting the ground when and you've got some patch leads and straight leads, it's a case of, well, I'm not just here with my one thing. I've
Yeah, there's no, yeah,
I've
yeah.
got a
Coilies are
fleet of
great, but
products.
here's,
Yeah,
the questions we're going to get asked is where's your straight cable,
yeah,
really?
yeah. And then
Um,
you if you've got that with you and you've got that
yeah,
reputation of quality behind you,
that's it. That's it.
yeah, you'll hit that ground running for sure.
Yeah, I think 25 for us is going to be an interesting year and a good year. Things are looking good. Um, it's just getting it in, getting the timing right, and being in 30, 40 shops and having the production and sell through there to go and meet all these business people over there at NAM. 26, I think, is the time.
Yeah, okay. It'll be here quick enough.
Oh
It'll
mate,
fly
like
by. That's a good story. I'm glad that it's working out for you and it's all falling in place and it's happened the right way. It's happened organically, and you've got a
mm,
great product to show for it, and you know, a reputation now that's building because of it. So it's
yeah,
it's a great success story.
yeah. Thank you, mate. And it's, to me, it's essentially only getting started. Like I suppose we're at the point now where it's like, okay, we've got something. There's a bit of legs here.
Yeah.
Let's do something with it.
Well, it's going to
Let's
be exciting to watch it unfold, because this is, like you said, this is just the beginning, and you're
yeah,
off to a roaring start. So
yeah.
it's going to be really exciting to see this unfold, and the places that your product's going to end up on, the stages and the people that are going to end up using it. It's going to be really, really exciting.
Yeah, I'm pumped, man. Like as I said before at the start of our conversation, I'm just so grateful to be in this position and have a cool little biz like this. It grows as much as you feed it, and scaling is an art, and I'm learning that. especially scaling globally as an art. But it's all part of it. It's all part of the fun and the story. And, you know, I get to talk to people like yourself, and sometimes I have to pinch myself, Francis, you know?
Yeah. Well, especially when you're dealing with some of the big music stars too. It's amazing.
It freaks me out. It freaks me out, you know, for them to leave me like really nice testimonials and say they only use my stuff live, and it's just like, whoa, this is great. Like, I suppose we'll finish on a really nice note, and yeah, I just want to express my gratitude and thank you for doing this. And it was great to chat to you, man. And I think if we get a coffee, we could probably have a coffee all day, you know. All right, Francis.
All right.
Thanks, mate. You have a good evening.
Mate. You too. Thanks, mate. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much for checking out the show. If you did like it and have the opportunity, please do leave a 5-star review on your podcast player. It does help others find the show. If you want to find out more information about this episode, the guest, or even the other episodes that are on offer, head over to bumpinginto.com.au. Don't forget the AU. Find the episode page, and I always do my best to list follow-up links and details that make it easy for you to find out more. Thanks again for stopping by, and I'm looking forward to bumping into you next time.